Samsung is said to be working on a new type of foldable. Rumors about the G Fold have yet to reveal the foldable phone in full. But it seems likely that 2025 will be the year we see Samsung introduce its first triple folding phone. Unfortunately, Samsung won't be the first to sell such a handset, as the Huawei Mate X-T Ultimate design took the accolade in 2024. But with Huawei restricted by its lack of Google apps and limited release territories, Samsung might effectively deliver the first triple foldable that most would-be users throughout the world will contemplate buying. Usually, we see Samsung's new foldables arrive every summer, so we may conceivably see the G Fold, or whatever it ends up being called, in just a few months. With that in mind, we're rounding up all the rumors we've heard so far about this triple folding phone. There are Samsung patents dating back at least as far as 2023 for triple folding phones, but patents don't often translate to actual devices. Fortunately, talk about the Galaxy G Fold doesn't end with patents. Samsung's TM Roh says a trifold phone could arrive at the end of this year. We've heard speculations that Samsung is working on a trifold smartphone, potentially to be called the Galaxy G Fold. Rumors arose before Galaxy unpacked that the phone will be teased at the event. However, it wasn't an entirely news-free day for the trifold phone, as Samsung's mobile boss was reported by the Korea Times talking about the phone, its name, and a probable release window. "We are working hard on a trifold smartphone with the goal of launching it at the end of this year," Roh said. "We are presently focused on improving the product and its usage, but we have not selected its name. As the product nears completion, we are planning to make a final decision soon." Another claim, which might be the scariest of all, suggests that Samsung wants to debut the phone for roughly $2,900. Another rumor indicates it could sell for between $3,000 and $3,500. We've already heard plenty of rumors about Samsung bringing a trifold smartphone into the world in the very near future, possibly named Galaxy G Fold. Unfortunately, the recent speculations reveal a disappointing lack of movement for the phone, because it might be stuck with the same charging speed as the regular Galaxy S25. According to leaker Panda Flash Pro, the Samsung trifold is now sporting a charging speed between 23 and 24 watt, which they claim will probably be sold as 25 watt charging. This is the same charging speed as both the present Z Fold 7 and the Galaxy S25. But for a phone of this class and projected price tag, I had hoped Samsung would push up the maximum charging speed to meet the S25 Ultra and Galaxy S25 Plus. Considering the mid-range Galaxy A56 now supports 45 watt charging, this is disappointingly low. Though I'll admit, I'm not all that surprised. Panda Flash Pro later reported that the trifold will skip out on under-display cameras and opt for a classic hole-punch design instead. And in contrast to the charging speed, considering the weak performance of those cameras, I think that's clearly for the best. While Samsung loves to push the limits of its hardware, especially premium phones, charging speed has never been one of its strong points. Phones seem to have been stuck at 25 watt or 45 watt for the past many years, and it's only recently that 45 watt speeds have been available. Samsung's biggest rivals, Google and Apple, have also languished at lower speeds. The iPhone 16 Pro Max only got a 45 watt upgrade last year, while the Pixel 9 Pro XL can only reach 37 watt. But you also have manufacturers like OnePlus, Xiaomi, and Huawei, which can give speeds in triple digits. Foldable devices normally don't reach those same heights, but even 67 watt charging is more than double the speed of a 25 watt charger. Then again, I'm not quite persuaded this is such a horrible thing. Admittedly, having 25 watt charging speed on an ultra-premium phone like the G Fold is quite aggravating, but there could be a legitimate reason for it. You have to know that faster charging often generates greater heat. If a phone doesn't have the cooling systems in place to disperse that heat, it might damage the phone. So you could make the argument for certain phones to not offer ultra-rapid charging. Without the necessary cooling chambers and tech inside, it could end up doing more harm than good. Considering foldable phones concentrate the design and form factor, it would make sense for them to have more rudimentary cooling compared to a non-folding Galaxy S phone, especially when you know the G Fold will be the first Samsung phone of its sort. And if the battery life is as good as other recent Samsung phones and other phones with the best battery life, rapid charging may not be all that required. We won't know for sure until Samsung actually announces the phone, which we're expecting to happen later this year. Crazy as that seems, with the new Z Fold 7 debuting for $1,999, a price around $3,000 for the larger phone with a second hinge, doesn't seem as unexpected. The speculation saying the gadget would be dubbed the Galaxy G Fold may have been overdone if Samsung hasn't selected a name yet. Or the corporation could be on pace to call it that, and Roh isn't ready to share the beans yet. While we thought we might see the Samsung triple-foldable first appear in 2024, the rumor mill now claims that the phone will be launching in 2025, with that forecast coming from multiple sources. It's only been in the past year that we've heard that this smartphone could be branded Galaxy G Fold, rather than the Galaxy Z name that pertains to Samsung's current folding phones, showing progress is being made in marketing the phone, as well as the underlying hardware. We have no notion what the price of the G Fold could be, although we'd assume a price in excess of $2,500 when factoring for the price of the $1,900 Galaxy Z Fold 6, and then adding on additional. The Huawei Mate X-T costs the equivalent of $2,800, so it's likely Samsung might charge even more. As for where you may get this phone, there's terrible news from the tipsters. The G Fold could possibly only be accessible in Korea and China, and even then just a tiny quantity will be created. This might make the G Fold exceedingly tough to get a hold of in the US, UK, or Australia, possibly leaving users there to wait for a second-gen product that would hopefully get a wider, more numerous release. A recent rumor has claimed that we could actually see the Galaxy G Fold launched at the forthcoming Galaxy Unpacked. However, it appears that the phone won't actually be available until October, which could indicate a delayed pre-order date. There's a huge vacuum in our information when it comes to the exact spec details of the Z Fold, but there are still a few morsels to go off of. Firstly, the G Fold will supposedly be an inward folding gadget, which means there should still be a separate cover screen on the opposite side of the device to the primary flexible display. An outward folding device, like the Huawei Mate X-T, doesn't have a distinct cover screen, but rather uses part of the folding display as the front screen when folded. As for dimensions, the G Fold might measure roughly 10 inches fully open, with a cover screen of 6.49 inches. That's on pace with Huawei's phone, and would fit with the benchmark set by the 6.3-inch outer display and 7.6-inch inner display sizes of the Z Fold 6. Annoyingly, both of these screens on the Z Fold may lack stylus support due to Samsung not including the necessary digitizer layer in the display. It's an unusual decision when you consider Samsung's Z Fold devices have supported S Pens for years. But as a first-gen device, perhaps the company wants to get the basics of the G Fold perfect before adding further difficulties and expenditures. Camera details are currently a mystery, but we'd assume a similar layout to that rumored for the Z Fold 7, with a 200 megapixels main camera, a 12 megapixels ultra-wide camera, and a 10 megapixels 3x telephoto camera on the back, and then a 12 megapixels front camera in a punch hole notch on the cover display, and a 4 megapixels under-display camera on the main display. It's similar with the chip and storage specs. There's nothing to go off of from the rumor mill, but it's probable Samsung will employ a Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, as we saw on the S25 series earlier in 2025, and 12 gigs of RAM, and at least 256 gigs of storage. Battery capacity is challenging to determine considering the odd form factor we're talking about. The Mate X-T's battery is 5,600 mAh, but the Galaxy Z Fold 6 has a 4,400 mAh capacity, so with an extra panel of space to place a battery in, ideally Samsung can fit in a few more milliamps hours to counteract the increased power drain of the larger display. Charging is presumably a known spec though, with the G Fold allegedly employing 25-watt charging like Samsung's other foldables. It would be great if Samsung went for its faster 45-watt charging option instead though. Triple foldables are still a nascent type of smartphone, as we saw at the Mobile World Congress 2025 earlier this year. But Samsung was at the front of the original foldable phone wave, and it looks like the business will be a dominant force again as we transition from one-hinged phones to two-hinged ones. We'd like to know more about this G Fold smartphone in advance of its reported introduction this year, and maybe the Samsung tipsters out there will oblige when they can. But for now, we're kind of just glad knowing that Samsung is working on this kind of phone. There's no pressure for the business to deliver this phone, so if Samsung can introduce a handset that's refined and bug-free out of the gate like Huawei, and unlike its initial Galaxy Fold, then we're happy to wait a little longer. So that's all we have for now on Samsung's foldable smartphones. Stay tuned to our channel for more updates on this exciting tech. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when we post new videos. Thanks for watching.